about, something that popped up in the media the other day, and I just kind of want to make sure I set the record straight. So if you guys can see this, please let me know. I'm just kind of getting my stream out there. And so hope you guys are doing good. Happy Friday. And so the goal for today is just kind of talk about, where we're at, what it looks like, and things that you just be paying attention to. And there's a lot of misinformation out there. I try really, really hard to make sure that the stuff that I put out is accurate and timely, and to give guys direction, right, and let people know kind of where we're at, and what it's looking like. And so let me get my stream shared real quick, and I'll kind of start talking about what I wanted to talk about today. And so, thank you guys for tuning in if you guys are here. And so, part of what we're going to talk about today is just, what the media the other day. And so currently it's just more fake news. And that's where we have to be aware of, and know that there's a constant battle for information. And I think we're winning the war. And what I mean by that is they are desperate to sell ad space. And so what's happening is they're putting out stuff. It's stuff designed to get the clickbait. It's designed to get you riled up because they know that that's what's going to sell ad space. And so we can't fall for the bait and switch. We got to know this is how the process goes. This is what truly happened. Yada, yada, yada. And so what I want to talk about today is obviously Senate Bill 243. There was a post that went out on local media the day before yesterday, and it was talking about the 72-hour hold. And so what they're trying to say is they put out all the verbiage for Senate Bill 243. They talked about the fact that there was an additional, there was a ban on rapid fire devices. There was also the reciprocity issue, which, can potentially ban concealed carry in certain public buildings, which we all knew about. But they added the 72-hour hold, and they're pushing this. This is the law, and it's not the law. And the governor had already signed this bill into law back in July. Because if you remember, the way this process works is obviously this one started in the Senate, it went to the House, it had to go back to the Senate for the final vote there, just because there were so many different changes to the bill. And from there, they created, they changed everything up. Then it ended up passing both chambers, and then it went to the governor for her signature. And so when her signature was put on there, it was 91 days after that signing is when part of Senate Bill 243 would go into effect. And so what it was looking like there is it was roughly September 26th is when the first part of Senate Bill 243 would go into effect. There was no mention in her initial signing of the 72-hour hold. And so then fast forward, the other part of this bill is the Measure 114 component, which was kicked out to March of 26, pending the outcome from our Oregon State Supreme Court. So there's a lot of things that are still up in the air. And so I just want to make sure you guys understand kind of what we're looking at here. And so how you guys can kind of be aware, make sure you can't always believe what you see in the media. And the problem is I think they're desperate, and we have to look at the landscape, the way the landscape's changed the past couple of years. Is people like me, the independent journalists, are out scooping, the traditional media. And so the media is desperate, right? They have all of this overhead. And so what they're trying to do is they have to compete with people like us that have a camera and a microphone and can get out the information to their audiences in a faster and more deliberate and more effective way. And so, they're going by route of the dinosaurs. They're going to be extinct pretty soon. And so they have to interject guns into this conversation, into the news media, because they know that's what's going to drive people to go click on ads, click on links, And so the best thing we can do is just not pay attention. Obviously, I want to set the record straight, make sure people know, because that's what I do as an educator and a gun right advocate, is making sure that you guys understand that, we're still, going forward. Things are going the way we need it to go. Some of it is an effect, but it's not as bad as what they're trying to make it out to be. They're trying to make it out to that the governor just signed this bill the other day, which is not true. There is no change. She does not have the authorization to do that. The bill passed both chambers in, and so one thing I'm gonna share my screen now so you guys can kind of see what I see. And so what I'm gonna do here is bring this up. So this is what's called the enrolled Senate Bill 243. And so what that means is enrolled means this has already been signed by the governor. This is the official law. Okay. If it passed both chambers, it's engrossed. So right up here, you'll see my cursor is my cursor's right here. So up here on the top of the bill, it says enrolled. That means it's already been signed by the governor, right? So engrossed would be it would pass both chambers, ready for her signature. Okay, so this is not the information that the media cited, because this is the correct information, and the media did not cite that. And so I just want to make sure you guys understand. So the rapid fire devices, obviously possession's a class A misdemeanor. If I'm going to sell it, transfer, manufacture, that's it's a felony, class B felony. And this is talking about our bump stocks, rapid fire devices, binary triggers, the super safeties. They're all included in this, okay? And also, this is talking about the public area restrictions, okay? So this has nothing to do with the 72-hour hold. What they're trying to do is make it more challenging, more difficult for you to take possession of a firearm once you're approved at your FFL. Okay, so that was not part of Senate Bill 243 as it was enrolled, as you can see up here. So this is the official language. This is what was signed by the governor back in July. This is something that passed. It passed, I believe, on June 27th of this year. And so this is the one we fought. Okay. So for the people that maybe are tuning in on YouTube that are not familiar with the work that we did in the Facebook group, this is something that we fought tooth and nail, and we got some tremendous wins in this bill. Okay. So originally, Senate Bill 243 was 4 bills. It was an omnibus bill that was wrapped up in this package, which had the rapid fire devices. It had a ban on adults on 21 or younger owning or possessing a firearm. It had the 72-hour hold, which was designed to help domestic violence, suicide prevention, and then it also had the sensitive places, like the preemption part of it. So there was 4 bills, obviously, that were going into Senate Bill 243 originally, and we were able to basically take out, as Oregon gun owners and your support and your emails and your pressure, we were able to take out the ban on the adults from 21 or younger from having a firearm. We also took out the 72-hour hold. So those are two big victories that we got on this bill. Obviously, we don't want more restrictions. We have enough restrictions already, but this is something that we have to take, we have to celebrate something in this situation. So I wanted to kind of show you this as I'm scrolling down. And what I'll do is I'll put all this information in the body of this video so you guys can see it for yourself. But there's no mention of the 72-hour hold. And so, this is why I wanted to make sure that I bring this to your attention, is to don't always believe what you see on the media. And I want you to make sure that you understand that there is good sources out there where you can search to get good, relevant information. A really good website to check would be OLIS. If you're not familiar with OLIS, this is the Oregon Legislative Information System. Okay, so everything is there. It's OLIS. I'll put a link in there as well. And so there you can search all the legislation. You can see the testimony. You can see the record. You can see the way this bill went through the process. You can see when the governor signed this into law. And so it's basically going to say the complete opposite of what the media is reporting. And so I think it's really, really important, is this is, what they reported the other day was completely fake news. And I think what happened is there was a reporter that doesn't understand the process, that maybe looked at the original language of the bill and then ran with that story, and then other news agencies picked it up, and then they made it a big thing. And then now I got an email this morning from Moms Demand Action celebrating this, which there was no record of them having this meeting the other day to sign this bill, because this bill's already been signed. So it's the whole thing is just smoke and mirrors. And so I think that's what's really, really important for you guys to know is, yes, it sucks. It's still part of the law, but it's not what they're saying it is, and it's because they're desperate, and so. Just make sure there's a lot of good information out there, but what we're seeing the past couple of days, that's not it. So, that's kind of where I'm at. And here's the part of the measure 114 applications at the end here. And then you also see here passed by the House on June 25th of 2025. So this is the official bill. This was where it was received by the governor, so just something to think about. I wanted to make sure you guys were aware of what happened, and that way you guys can be part of the process. That the goal is just giving you guys information, make sure you understand kind of where we're at and what it looks like. And so, I don't want to take too much more of your time. I just want to do a quick update for you. And if you guys have any questions, please let me know. Everything's in the chat. You guys can comment, subscribe. That really helps the channel. This is a newer channel for me, and it's one that I'm growing. And I appreciate all the feedback and the support that I've gotten over the past couple months on YouTube. And so I'm very fortunate. The channel was finally monetized because of all of your support. So thanks for tuning in and trusting me with the information. I try to give you guys information in a way that you guys can understand, feel that you can be a part of the process. And that's part of the work that I do as an advocate is making sure that we educate, empower our neighbors to be a part of this situation. But we also have to show up and vote. So there's a lot that goes into it. So that's kind of where I'm at. And so I'm going to kind of look at the comments. I don't have many comments. It's a Friday. People are probably busy at work. I just want to put this out because I had a free few minutes and I have my setup set up. So yes, I would 100% agree with this. It's gross. And part of it is attention spans are so short, and we're living in literally a 15-second news cycle. And that's how long our attention spans right now. And so typically when something they put out something like this in the media, it's really easy for it to go viral. If I look at the comments on Facebook for all of the stories that did come out that said that there was a 72-hour hold, they were getting roasted. And so, but that's what they want. It's those negative comments that actually drive the algorithms, and they actually reach more people that way. So that's kind of the downfall of social media, right? Is us standing up for the truth. We actually help them, and that's what they want. So that's kind of the unfortunate thing. But yeah, it is definitely propaganda. Open carry. This is another one that I had here. Open carry is definitely untouched. There is still open carry. I guess the caveat there would be, public spaces, public buildings. You're still going to face the same sort of restriction there. Obviously, they do not want firearms in those locations, and so that's something to be aware of if you're going to open carry. I think the last thing that I'll touch on here is the fact that when we got this victory in the summertime with those two bills being taken out, when they took out the 72-hour hold, that was the Oregon legislature that did that. They actually got a lot of heat and fire from the other side, the anti-gun side, because what it did is it took away a resource for people to be able to get help in a moment of crisis. It could be suicide prevention. It could be a domestic violence situation. And so there was a kind of a stopgap there for people that shouldn't have guns, be prevented from having guns. And so the anti-gun crowd was definitely unhappy that the fact that we were able to get that pulled out of that original legislation. And so that was a huge victory for us, because that basically, this changed kind of the scope of 243 as it sits, because it basically penalized the law-abiding citizen as opposed to actually going after criminals. And so that's what made this bill a bad bill, as all of them. I mean, none of them have been proposed in the past couple of years have been a good bill. None of them are going to, and then talk about public safety. none of them are going to increase actual public safety. All they're going to do is be an inconvenience for the law abiding. They're going to make, gun-free zones. They're going to expand them, which we know that 94% of mass killings happen in gun-free zone. It's data that's been supported by research. That's a factual information. They don't like to admit that, and so, but none of this stuff really affects true criminals, right? Because criminals are still going to commit crimes, and what they're doing is they're committing and treating you like a criminal, and also subjecting you to possible prosecution, and which is unfortunate. So, let me look at this question real quick. Um, Inspection of firearms or in buildings. I'm not sure exactly what you mean by that. I would say that they would not want your firearm even opened or concealed in a public building. The Capitol building has actually metal detectors. The Oregon State Supreme Court that had metal detectors. So, getting a firearm into those locations would definitely be not happening, and also be a criminal penalty now after of September 26th of this year. So thanks for joining us. And we're just talking 243, the misinformation. Obviously, there's a big thing that happened the other day. There's a lot of people that were up in arms about it, didn't know what it meant, and so I was just trying to set the record straight there. Part of measure of Senate Bill 243 is in effect. The other part won't go into effect until we figure out what happens at the Oregon State Supreme Court. So it's going to take time. So once again, we still have time when it comes to Measure 114. It's not going into effect. Nothing's changing. And so that's where we just got to be patient, and hopefully we'll get a victory. So that's kind of where I'm at. Give me 1 second. Yes, 100%, Alex. I appreciate this comment. I guess my only concern there is, as of it would so this is me, not I'm not an attorney. I just play one here on Facebook for your YouTube for you guys. Is This would mean someone would have to be arrested and charged, and then we would have to go through that process where they could file a lawsuit because they've faced harm there. So yes, there is. So when we're talking about school grounds, like public property. So what Senate Bill 243 did was it created a patchwork of municipalities. So municipalities can now change rules when it comes to concealed carry. So let's say I live in Eugene, Oregon, and so let's say a school district, the 4J, right? 4J now has the authority to say but they have to go through the process. They can't just, it has to be an executive. It can't be an executive session. It has to be open to the public, because the public has to be able to weigh in on these policies. But they can say that no guns are welcome on school grounds. Okay. So that being said, so then they would have to give us, due process. They would have to give us time to respond, go through the process, and then they would have to adopt the measure, and then they would have to put proper signage on the website. Also, every school would have to have a sticker. But the challenge here is, this is now a felony offense for people that carry a gun onto a school ground, which has been legal up to this point. Okay. So, it's never been a criminal punishment like now. And so what they're doing is they're just trying to make it challenging for you, and to affect your ability to defend yourself, or a third party here in the state of Oregon. So it's not going to save lives. It's just going to make our schools more dangerous. And I'm not saying 4J is doing that. I'm just saying they have the opportunity. It could be, XYZ municipality in your location. So I would imagine locations on the east part of the state are going to be more friendly to firearms, and they're not going to introduce policies like this. It's going to be institutions on this part of the state that's going to be bad to guns. So something to think about. So yeah, thanks for tuning in. No, nothing as of yet. And so that's kind of where we're just in a holding pattern. I'm trying to, make sure I keep people engaged and involved here on YouTube. because I'm trying to kind of grow the channel to reach more people. And also, I'm working on some stuff behind the scenes where I'm trying to start a new organization that would delve into gun rights here in Oregon and get more people motivated and active here in the state of Oregon to kind of help combat all this stuff. And so that's another thing that I'm kind of working on. And so part of that is just growing the audience here so people know kind of what we do and what we're trying to do and so they get involved. So there's multiple things that I'm trying to do here with these videos. And ultimately it's just about giving people good factual information, get them involved and, put people at ease, so I appreciate you guys tuning in, thanks for being here, Hemp Farmer. And so it's just, that's about all I got, unless you guys have anything you want to add. Obviously you guys are kind of the fuel here. You guys kind of take the conversation in different directions and I appreciate that. And, so yeah, thanks for being here. No, I appreciate you. This is like, we're all in this together. And I've learned a lot, through my journeys. I started this journey in the gun rights, probably back in 2015. And so I've learned a lot. I've done some really cool things in the state of Oregon to help kind of support gun rights. I did write a Senate bill in 2019 that will authorize gun safety for all public schools in the state of Oregon, under the organization that I run. And everything's about safety, and I know a lot about safety and I also know about how the system works. I want to just make sure my neighbors understand and my fellow voters understand and feel that they can be a part of it, because everybody can get involved. And so I'm glad to meet some great folks along the way, like Chip here. I appreciate Chip. He's been there with me. And so that's kind of where I'm at. Let's look at this. Yes, please. Yeah, if you can help me. I'm just trying to figure out, obviously how I can sustain here on YouTube. I have a good grasp of the concept and on what was, because I have another channel that I run. And if you guys are not following Kids Safe Foundation, you can check out the work that I do there. You can find us on Facebook, also find us on YouTube under the Kids Safe Foundation. And we do, gun safety training for kids, and it's all about, making sure that they understand that, guns are not toys, they're tools. But I also do, advocacy work on that on the other hand. So there's a lot that I can do, and it's part of the deal. Something I signed up for. I signed up back in. We became a nonprofit in 2016. We've been a nonprofit since 2016. Reached over 30,000 kids in 10 states. And so this is just the other hat that I wear. That's the advocacy type stuff. And so, primary my focus is children's safety with guns and education. So yeah, please do, Slater. I appreciate it, man. I appreciate the help, the support, the belief, and obviously you guys just tuning in. That's huge. So if you guys, if you're not familiar with the work that we do, you can find us on our Facebook group, Oregon Firearms Advocates group there. You can join, obviously answer the question, makes this easier to keep the people that shouldn't be in the group out. And there's a lot of good information there. And that's kind of where we do a lot of our motivation and calls to action. I'm going to start incorporating YouTube more as our YouTube channel, my YouTube channel has grown. So I have the capability to reach more folks that way. And it's just getting people off the couch and in the game. So, and giving, like, the whole goal with this new website that I'm thinking of, I'm trying to figure out how to fund, obviously first, but it is just streamlining the process. Like, here is where we're at. This is what we can expect. This is when things go into effect, and just have real-time information so people can go to the website. They see something that doesn't look right, they can go straight to the website. They can vet it. They know it's a trusted resource. And we're going to do more to stop this stuff than any other organization really in the state, because we're going to be able to move faster. So that's the goal. That's kind of my 30,000-foot view of the work that I'm trying to do here in the state. So for my neighbors and myself. So appreciate you guys tuning in. Happy Friday. If you guys have any questions, comments, please send them my way, and don't forget to like, comment, and share. Appreciate it. You guys have a good day, and we will talk to you again soon. Thank you.